There are many reasons that you could predict Limerick will win their third All-Ireland final in a row and fourth and fifth 5 years. But I suppose we'll narrow it down to three and expand on them a small bit just in this segment with three reasons why Limerick can win. The big one is their physicality has increased so much since the last time they met Kilkenny in the 2019 All-Ireland semi-final. And, that's their most recent knockout defeat in the championship. In the meantime, they've been undefeated in 15 games. But back then, if you look back on the video footage, the size profile of the players, it couldn't be more night and day. Some of the players that really typify that are, I suppose, Sean Finn, Barry Nash, who came on at halftime, was really good in that game. The chest that you see on some of the players, Kyle Hayes is just an extra half of a man since that game. Aaron Gillan with a chest out to here. All of these players are really physically in an unbelievable shape at the moment. And they were physically spooked in that game. That was certainly how I felt. And to the point that they abandoned their game plan, they just started horsing long ball up the field. They weren't working the ball through the lines. Obviously, they were only in year 3 under John Kiley and Paul Kinnerk at that stage, and they're now in year 6. But certainly the game plan seemed to go out the window. You look at other little things in terms of marginal gains. The Limerick team that we now look at, they tend to always go short with the sidelines and work a score, which they're really, really good at doing. The last score of the game, or the last attempted score of the game, was Darragh O'Donovan going for a sideline over the bar from whatever it was, maybe 40 yards out. It was flicked by Killian Buckley. That wasn't picked up. It should have been a 65. But, the point being that they now go with the marginal gains. They don't go for a Hail Mary shot like that anymore. Everton is sort of, they've figured it out in terms of the odds. What is the best chance of getting a score? So, it's that sort of stuff and not just gifting away the ball. And there's 2 examples straight away, not just luring it up the field and being clever with the sidelines. They just won't. I don't feel that they're going to be as errant with their shooting. Back in that game in 2019, they had several attempts to draw level with Kilkenny after that disastrous start, going 172 points behind. They had a couple of great opportunities in the second half to draw level, but couldn't actually manage to do it. So I think in terms of composure, it just wasn't there. And that's something that was also a problem in 2017 when they lost in that qualifier game down in Nolan Park. They seemed to panic during the game, and there was 3 times, I remember it well, where under no massive pressure, they just pulled on the ball on the ground. And I think it was one of those things where they were so used to being under pressure in the game that they sort of, anytime they went to get to the ball and they weren't under pressure, they almost had it in their heads that they were. So they were expecting a tackle, so they just pulled on the ball so they wouldn't get caught on it. And I think those things are something that Limerick have moved past. They're obviously physically stronger, so even if they do meet contact, they're able to ride the challenge on a lot of the occasions. Next big point is, so that was physicality. They have an ability to win tight games, especially now that the pack is getting closer to them. The last couple of years, the 2020 and 2021 championship, they were beating teams very handily. That's dropped down to about 4.33 points per win average this year. But any team that's taken them to the wire, they know that Limerick aren't going to fade out, and they have this ability and I suppose mental strength that they know they're going to get over the line and not panic, in the opposite to the way that Galway, when it got down to the last minute or two in the All-Ireland semi-final, maybe they didn't have that belief. They didn't think of the extra pass. I mean, let's think of that situation where David Reedy got that great score towards the end. There was a nice lofted ball out from the back line from Declan Hannon to a free man in the centre. It was popped off to David Reedy over the bar. It's just that composure. Just think of other games that have been close. Going back to 2018, they won they had that narrow victory over Kilkenny in the quarterfinal in Semple Stadium. So that was probably the first big game where they got over the line in terms of knockout. They'd done really well to come back against Cork in Páirc Uí Chaoimh earlier that year with the 14 men after Aaron Gillan had been sent off early. But that Kilkenny game, that was a huge one because they hadn't beaten Kilkenny in the championship since 1973. Then the next round against Cork, it went all the way to extra time. They got used to winning a tight game there. Galway, yes, they went well ahead of them in the All-Ireland final, but when it was brought back near the end, they found a way over the line. Think of the Tipperary comeback in 2021 when they were down by 10 points and ended up winning by 6. There was no panic. Even this year, Waterford came close, Tip came close. Clare obviously took them to extra time, didn't panic. Galway didn't panic. And you look now compared to 2019, you've Aaron Gillan on the freeze, Dermot Burns on the freeze. Their coolness has gone to another level, and both of these lads are Hurler of the Year nominees at this stage. If you were to put a gun to the All-Star committee's head, and Gillan, this is another thing that he's kicked on. Go back to 2018 and even previous years, he was a lot of the time losing his hurley. I remember that quarter final against Kilkenny in 2018, losing his hurley 3 or 4 times in that game. He's not really doing that now. He's collecting the ball and he's finishing low, whereas once he used to finish high and miss goal chances, now he's scoring them. Think of the one he scored against Cork, which he buried low into the net after being fed by Kyle Hayes. Think of the 2 against Tipperary, catching ball, finishing it low, just marginal gains again. You'd imagine this is one of the things that the management have talked to him about, said you need to start finishing low, and hey presto, he's starting to finish chances. Even Gerard Hegarty against Clare finished his goal chance low, and I have a feeling that's something that's talked about a lot. They have leaders everywhere across the field. Obviously in goals, Nicky Quaid is excellent. Sean Finn has been lording it in the backline for God knows how long. You've Declan Hannon and Diarmaid Byrnes in the half backline, Will O'Donoghue midfield, Cian Lynch assuming he's fit, and obviously the hurler of the year, Gerard Hegarty, previous hurler of the year, Tom Morrissey, Aaron Gillan, and so on and so forth. So they have leaders absolutely everywhere on the pitch. So the third one then would be their ability to bypass the sweeper and force Kilkenny to come out from the back, really, I think. So Clare made a hero of Richie Reid and the Kilkenny backs by just pumping long ball up the field. That's not, from experience, this is not what Limerick are going to do. They're going to work the ball out from the back, and if there's a sweeper, they're going to bypass him. Cathal Mannion obviously tried to hold that position in front of the left corner back spot in the All-Ireland semi-final. After 10 or so minutes, realised he's just going to be bypassed anyway, because brilliant ball was fed in for Aaron Gillan and he knocked it over the bar. So Richie Reid is probably going to have to push a bit further out. Now, he's not going to follow all the way out. If, for example, it was Kyle Hayes or Cian Lynch that was centre forward and they went to the other half of the field, he's not going to follow him that far. You just hope they're going to get swallowed up into traffic. But I don't think he's going to allow to be able to sit back in front of the D and just mop up there. That's not what Limerick are going to do. So it'd be very interesting to see how Richie Reid can impact the game, or if he's going to have to go man-to-man for the most part. I just don't think Limerick are going to make it easy for him. And then dropping off the puck and seeing if Kilkenny have the hurlers in their back line to work the ball out from the back. Again, it's not going to be like Clare, where they left oceans of space and Kilkenny were able to just fire long ball on top of TJ Reid. He wins it, and they're up and running at that stage. Limerick, I would imagine, are going to drop off initially. Now, if a player gets it, they'll obviously go and try and engage him or send him down the tram lines or whatever it might be. But I think they will try and ask Kilkenny, can you work the ball out from the back? Because if you look at that Limerick defence and they sit back, Dan Morrissey, Diarmaid Byrnes, Declan Hannon, William O'Donoghue, and the wing forwards are dropping back for the puck outs. Can Kilkenny go long on top of that, or will they have to work it short? So I think that's something where Limerick can get a bit of joy, and those are the 3 reasons that I think Limerick can win this game. Let me know your thoughts on it.